I'm just Nick, and this is the Earthquaker Devices Dirt Transmitter. Okay, so here's what this is. This is a fuzz pedal that has a handy knob on the top that controls the bias voltage to the transistors, I don't know if there's one or more, inside this thing. And what that means is that you can starve the transistor. When you turn the bias knob all the way clockwise, actually when you put it in the middle, you apply the normal bias voltage, and it sounds like a nice, responsive fuzz pedal, old school style fuzz pedal. Very fuzzy, very clear, very dynamic. Roll back the volume. Roll back the volume. And it does all that cool stuff that, you know, like a fuzz face does. When you turn the bias knob, say, to 9 o'clock, now we are starving the transistors. It's kind of like playing through a fuzz face with a low battery. And we get this really kind of ripping, Velcro-y, sputtery sound. Does all kinds of cool intermodulation things. And if we go even further, it gets more extreme and things start to sound broken. If we go really far, it gets pretty crazy. Crazy, totally crazy. And what's sane about that? But here's what's sane about that, is that these very starved transistor sounds are amazing for low string parts that without this kind of sputtery fuzziness and low end roll off that we get with the bias set this way, the low string parts would be way too fat and muddy to work well in any kind of a mix. But these types of sounds cut through beautifully and sit in a very nice little sonic niche in a mix and can be used to great effect. And that's the most extreme setting. If we give it a little bit more juice, you get these sounds that are very compelling and occupy a very kind of small frequency space, which makes them very, very usable in an arrangement, in a band, in a live situation, in the studio or whatever. So in this pedal, you get a really versatile, fuzz face sounding, very dynamic, nicely voiced fuzz. They can do all the normal stuff. Can do all the normal stuff, but can also starve the transistor for some more extreme sounds. But wait. We said that at 12 o'clock we had normal bias. We can also over bias. I hope that's the correct technical term. I can't really tell you, but I'm gonna call it that. Over bias the transistor and apply more voltage than usual for a different range of sounds. how to characterize what's going on here sonically, it's a different dynamic response. It has a kind of fat, pillowy feel, but still a lot of kind of bright fuzziness on the top end. In the middle, again, more typical. A little more compressed. Over here, a little bit more attack. It's a subtle difference, but I think it's more noticeable at the lower gain settings. And all of a sudden, this thing becomes the kind of overdrive I like, which is very, very dynamic, but not compressed and sort of generic sounding. It has a kind of fuzz nastiness to it that it maintains even at these lower gain settings. Let's see what it sounds like at a low gain setting with the bias in the middle. A little bit fatter, a little bit more compressed. Up here, though, and then totally starved again just for fun. Sounding kind of broken. So here's the deal. In this little enclosure with just 4 knobs and what you kind of expect to be, you know, a usual kind of fuzz face type circuit, you get a huge range of tones by virtue of a nicely voiced tone knob and this bias control that not only can starve the transistors, but that can overbias them. I'm going to guess that going up this way is kind of like running your fuzz pedal at a higher supply voltage. I'm just guessing, because that's what it sounds and feels like. A little bit stiffer, a little bit more, a little bit less compressed. Great pedal, huge range of sounds. I'm going to question just one thing about the graphics. I really like the graphic. It looks like a parabolic antenna, and it also looks a little bit like a Weber barbecue kind of tilted on its side. And it's shooting sort of electrical looking arrows out of the end of the center element of the antenna. I question the parabola or the parabolic reflector, which would really be only useful for reception, at least as far as I understand it here. But perhaps this is a bidirectional antenna. Perhaps it also is set up to receive dirt, or perhaps it transmits dirt and receives something else, clean. It transmits dirt and it receives back fire or water. I don't know. In any case, I like the idea of a dirt transmitter, and this does transmit a very broad range of dirt in very musical ways. So get a hold of the folks at Rock and Roll Vintage and tell them that you want to transmit some dirt. Until next time.